so excited to introduce to you today on Althea TV one of my clients, Brandolyn. Welcome, Brandolyn, to Althea TV.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
So, can you share with everyone who you are? And I apologize, Dr. Brandolyn.
Oh, yes,
who,
that's right.
who you are, who you help, and how you're changing the world through your business.
Sure thing. So, yes, I am Dr. Brandolyn, which is something that I've gained from working with Althea to own the doctor. I am my passion is supporting teachers in education and helping teachers be their very best so that every day they show up, they're their best for kids, because we know the power of education and what happens in those classrooms matter. So my passion, like I said, is supporting teachers. And then I'm a scientist by training. The doctor is for microbiology and environmental science. And so I'm a scientist by training. And so my real desire is to increase quality science education so that kids are excited to show up to school. And we know that science is the root for reading, math, language, social studies, finances. We can teach so much through science, and it's fun and exciting. And kids are naturally inquisitive and interested. So science is a great entry point. So I coach teachers and help them become their best selves and create lessons that are inspiring and encouraging for kids.
I love it. I actually did not know that science can be the foundation to teach everything. So thank you for that education.
Yes,
So
yes.
as a happy client, and this is a happy client interview on Althea TV, I'd like you to share your journey, your coaching journey. What were your biggest business challenges that you were facing before working with me?
So my biggest challenge has always been owning my bigness, because I tend to be a positive person. I come to every problem thinking we just have to solve it. There's always a solution, very enthusiastic, very hopeful, very passionate for life. And so I tended to downplay all of that so that I could fit in or not stand out. And I was always afraid that it would come off as pretentious or like I know it all because I have this Ph.D. And I guess because of that, I always went the other direction, which didn't serve me well. And it caused like lack of confidence, really, and a lack of, or a mindset of like, I'm not enough and I don't have enough to offer, or not being confident. It's not that I didn't have enough to offer, it wasn't being confident in what I had to offer. So I found Althea. It was definitely a God thing, through a kingdom driven entrepreneur something. I don't even remember exactly. But when I met Althea, I knew instantly that we would work well together and that you would allow me, challenge me, and grow me into a more productive mindset. That was my biggest thing. It was all between so much of it was between my ears, and gaining that confidence. And then the additional thing was that Althea has wonderful tools, and so I was no longer alone. I had this fantastic teammate that held me accountable, challenged me, but also great support and encouragement, and just continued to show up every time I needed whatever it was I needed.
That is such a good sense of where you were and where so many clients come to me, where the biggest challenge really when we get to the root, it is like what's happening between your head. And I love how you worded it. It was that you didn't have the confidence in what you brought. I might have twisted it a bit. And that's going to help so many. Just you sharing your story of where you were before working with me, it's going to help so many people so that they know that they're not alone in these
Yes.
feelings, even when they have the receipts, they have the degrees, they have the experience. And it
Mhm.
was, I remember it was my interview through the Kingdom Driven Entrepreneur podcast. I remember you showed up in my
Yes.
showed up on my
Yes.
calendar after
That's
hearing it.
right. That's it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what was it? I mean, that's a great question. You said you knew when we met that we would partner together. What helps you know that us working together, you hiring me as your
Mhm.
coach, would be the catalyst to help you to your next?
I I could sense your enthusiasm, your knowledge, and just I think your bigness and you holding your space gives others permission to find theirs and hold their space. And it's hard. I don't know if I can articulate like the you just kind of know, like I just knew, like this is my person. And I think it's because you have that enthusiasm, you have that joy, you have that vision of something bigger. You believe that there's something bigger for all of us than what we're currently experiencing. We just have to open up into it. And then because you are a fellow believer, we have the shared value of obedience and trusting in God, and that really scary ledge that we walk on as Christians that are searching to maximize our potential here on earth for the kingdom. That's like a ledge we walk on, and it's a scary ledge because the world is so appears so safe and they want to keep us down, and we're like out on this edge together. And I think knowing your story and when you share some of your personal challenges and what you've come over with your business, that resonated with me, like, well, if she can do it, I can do it, so let's go. And because you've walked through it, we find confidence in people who have lived out the story themselves, right? That's, I think, why Bible stories are so powerful and why we love testimonies, right? Is because that person has lived it. And now we identify and we say, hey, if she can do it, I can do it. What can I learn from her? So I think all of that kind of like instantly, you just kind of know these things, I guess, especially when they're God things. um, he
I mean, you
connects
put it in
us.
such a good way, and it's one of the reasons why we do these happy client interviews on Althea TV, the testimony, right? If Dr. Brandolyn could
Yes.
do it, and we're going to talk about the results, and we know that God is not a respecter of persons, then it's possible for me too, and the power of your testimony. The coach in me wants to like give a coaching lesson, but that's not, but that's not what this is for. And you as a client and others who work with me know, like me pulling back and being like, no, what's the focus? So share with
That's right.
us, how did you feel towards your business before working with me? Like what were some of what was like maybe the dominant thought or thoughts that you felt towards your business before working with me?
Oh, well, before I was feeling like stuck, very stuck, and I didn't know how to move forward. I know I want to make a difference in the world. I know I want to do good things, but I just didn't know how to move forward anymore. Like I didn't know. I have no expertise in business. My expertise is in science. And so I was just feeling very stuck.
Right. And then you came to me already having clients. You already had, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong. You already had, a 5-figure and a 4-figure client. So where did you
Yes.
feel stuck? Like what aspects did you feel stuck since you already had acquired high level clients?
reaching into new schools. So the two clients that I had, as you helped me identify too, the two clients that I had came from relationships in the schools that my son had been involved in. And so I was able to build relationships and then from that become a coach for that school. But what I couldn't figure out was how to get into new schools that I don't have a relationship, and I only have one child and he only goes to so many schools. So so I was really like, I don't know what to do next. I don't know how to get into these new places.
Right. Okay, awesome. So it's like, how do I, like, what's the next step? How do I acquire new clients? So let's talk about, and, to give people the backstory, we've only been working together 2 months, maybe 2.5 months. So
Right.
this is really, and I share that to share to those, like, how quickly the results and how quickly the results can come. It's possible. So what were some of the results that you achieved from working with me?
Well, first thing, we got my mindset straight and we worked on who I am as a professional and what I have to offer into these schools. Once we got my mindset straight, then using tools that you provided, you helped me gain the confidence to make the phone calls, a script for a phone call, a script for an email, a script for follow-up phone calls, follow-up email, and again, writing those scripts so that they really spoke to the principal. I was targeting small rural school principals who are labeled low performing schools. So that, hold on. My phone's ringing. There we go. Sorry. So we had worked with, part of the mindset was also the clarity. And so the clarity of who is it that you want to serve. So again, we very painstakingly, what I thought was very painstakingly, but at the end I saw, I now understand why we did this painstaking process. Identified school principals of low performing. So I was able to tailor my emails and my phone calls to really speak to those principals. And those principals began responding because I was speaking directly to them. And so I have told so many people what Althea taught me, and I always mess it up, but I'm gonna get better at it. The marketing, right? You know what I'm gonna say. The speak to many, don't get any, speak to one. Just say it for me.
Said it that way. I kind of like how you did that. You did a play of words. So when we're marketing to everyone, we're marketing to no one. When we're marketing to one specific ideal client, we're able to reach many. But I like to speak to many, get whatever you said. But yeah, so again, so let's focus on one ideal client, market to that one ideal client, so we can actually reach many.
Yes. So that's what happened. So literally, I just got brave after speaking with Althea, coaching with her, getting my mindset straight, and I literally was like, okay, God, I'm going to make this phone call, because to me, making phone calls is one of the scariest things. Writing an email to an unknown person is so scary. That's just my personality. So, but I said, okay, God. And I used God as the excuse to do it. So Brandolyn and Brandolyn's power, I would have been like, no way, I'm not calling these people, these principals. But because of Althea's coaching and encouragement, and I had the tool, I put all those together. And then I said, okay, God, I'm going to do this for you. And I just picked up the phone and acted like I knew exactly what I was doing and reached out to these principals. And to get to a principal, you have to get through their secretary first. And so I had actually quite enjoyable conversations with the secretaries, and then the principals returned calls. So the cool thing was I made 7 targeted phone calls, received 3 responses within a very short time. 1 response, we were able to say, not a fit right now, which is another really powerful process Althea helped me work through, because we recognized that while this principal was an ideal client, it wasn't a match. he's not visionary. He didn't have some of those qualities that we had identified the principal needs to have. So we were able to say, we, meaning me, myself and Althea with me, say, no, thank you. We appreciate the opportunity, but it's not going to fit. So that felt really good and really strange because I think the world or somebody, they would tell us, you take every client, right? And even though you know in your gut, you're like, ugh, this is going to be a tough one, you have to take them because that's what we do. Where Althea gave me permission to say, this isn't going to work. And I'll check back with you maybe in a year, because hopefully that principal grows as well. But then the two remaining clients, the two remaining principals, one, I literally was on a phone call this morning with his staff. So we're quote in. And the second one is I'm just kind of waiting for that opportunity. So within 3 months, I have gathered a new client and in a brand new school that I had no relationship when we started this in October. So that's pretty exciting. I'd say that's a success.
I would say it's a huge success. And, and that 3 months, included the winter holiday.
Exactly. Right.
But there's so much that I love about this is that you really shared with everyone my process of like, we worked on your mindset first, right? Like we looked at your mindset and then you did something and I'm so grateful for your honesty. Like I painstakingly went through this process with Althea with ideal client and I didn't know why, but here's the thing, Brandolyn, you did the work. And, for all of my current clients or prospective clients who are like understand that, in looking to grow and up level in your business, it is a process of starting, like going through and doing maybe the unfun work. But on the other side, what happened? Like, reached out to 7 clients, got 3 responses, which is close to 50%, made a decision from an abundant mindset, like, no, thank you. And then 1 became a client and 1 is, a warm, like we'll say a warm lead. So
Right.
fantastic. So fantastic. And, the other thing, now that you're talking about it, and it is a success, it's such a huge success, the success in you being brave for God. I love that you like shifting that mindset, right? And working in God's strength. So like that is in a huge success in it of itself. But you're taking me back to what we did with your pricing and looking at that. Yeah. So can you, I remember the process that we went through and we really looked through your pricing and to make sure that it accurately reflected the value that you bring, the results you help your clients achieve, and the transformation you help them experience. So tell us about that. What was that like? Like, where was your pricing before, and where is it now? And how did the transformation happen in working with me?
Right. So pricing probably will always be a challenge, but so I definitely give my services away. Again, starts with the mindset, and we had to get the mindset right that there's value in what I bring, and that value has a monetary value, and it's not right to give it away. So first thing, we had to get the mindset straight. Then we looked at the pricing, and what we did, and what I really loved about working with Althea with pricing, is we looked at the value. And so I'm not a one size fits all value. Some of the things I do are less valuable because lots of people can do it. And we recognize that those pieces we valued lower. And then we teased apart the pieces that really are Brandolyn specific and what Dr. Brandolyn can bring. And those pieces we valued higher. So when I write my proposals to the principals, I think it's a nice, transparent, very honest business practice that we're showing them that we recognize there's parts of Brandolyn that's more valuable than others. So we're not just one across the board saying this much. We're saying these are the different practices we'll do with you, and this is the value. And so the one that's Brandolyn specific, we upped quite significantly. And prior to working with Althea, I would have been like, oh no, we can't do that. That's too much. But after working with Althea, and again, changing the mindset, and believing that God gives us gifts, and those gifts we are to share with the world, and we are to make a difference in the world, and they are valuable and valued. And so now I, with confidence, am not afraid or timid or embarrassed. I just say, in my mind, this is what I say. I would probably not say this to a client, but in my mind, I say, I'm God's kid and I'm pretty awesome and I'm worth this much. So I remind myself that when I go into the meeting, because that's the important mindset that I have to carry.
A lot of transformation in what you said to yourself about yourself. A lot of transformation in that. And people might be saying, like, how did you shift your mindset? Well, one of the things that you are sharing and letting others, like, you changed what you said about yourself to yourself, and you took on the
Yes.
the words and the mindset of God. So good. And this is really good because people talk about pricing, and I love the process that we went through, and it was to see, like, to really flush out, like, this is the value that you bring that others in your field, you do it in such a unique way, very distinct, very different than others in your field. And while it may be easy for you and second nature because it's a gift from God, it has tremendous value.
Right.
It has tremendous value.
Right.
And I remember us going through the process, and you were like, oh yeah, oh, by the way, when I do this for them, they can use it in this way, this way, this way, this. And it was like, wait, like, and this is all that you are, having it priced at. And it was like, yeah. And then on the other hand, I love when you were like, no, really, this service that I provide, this is appropriately priced based on the value. And we left it as is. And I don't remember, I know it was, I don't know if it ended up being a double, but I do remember it being a significant increase. And there was such confidence at the end of the call. It was like, yes, this makes sense. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes,
your new client said yes, they didn't balk at it.
No, I went on that for that client that I ended up landing and working with starting today. There was not even a blink of the eye. It was like, hot dog, it worked. So that was a big mindset shift.
I mean, huge, right? Like, really huge. And what would you say to someone who's watching, who's doubting that they can, two things, who's one, knows in their heart of hearts when a prospective client is interested and they know this is not a fit, but are afraid to say no. So what would you say to them about that? And also to that individual who's like, I'm afraid to charge more, or act, I'm going to just say charge more. I'm afraid to charge more. I'm afraid that I won't get this new client or I'll lose this client. So what would you say to that individual? Because you were them and now you're on the other side.
I think we have to trust. This comes back to obedience and trust. We must trust first, with the first piece, with the client that's not really a fit. We have to trust our gut. That phrase, trust your gut. God gave us our gut, and God gave us gut reactions for a reason, and they're very real. And the science behind it, we won't go into here, but it's actually quite fantastic and phenomenal about how accurate our guts are, and what we've actually trained ourselves to not listen to our guts. That's a whole nother day, another story. But the bottom line is, trust your gut and act into it, because and do it believing that there is protective mechanisms, that God will protect us from things that aren't supposed to happen. So trust your gut and trust God. That's ultimately trusting God. For the other one, I think it's similar. It's obedience, knowing that God promises us an extravagance and stuff that we can't even imagine. And so if we're not willing to step into that, and whether that be at a price point, whether that be a level of a client, like a company that you just can't even imagine you would ever get into, whether it's geographical, like you don't even know how you're actually going to get there. Like, I don't know what the extravagance can be on so many different levels. It's not just about money. But I think it's, again, God opens doors for us. We have to step through them. Otherwise, you'll never experience what's on the other side. And so quiet the fear, find the promise that conquers the fear. Because what we're really experiencing is fear, and we don't live in fear. So, and that's one thing, and Althea, you can certainly share it with others, that graphic we came up with, the mindset that's, remember, lead the process, open-minded, always learning.
Right.
That is what I have in the front of my binder. I have it on my vision board in my bedroom. So every morning I walk out, I quickly look at those 5 bullet points, because all of that feeds back into the mindset where fear is squished down and the promises of God are raised up. And then you just do it. You just got to get brave, girls and boys. You just have to get brave for God.
So good. So good. And I and probably others are so curious about, hopefully, your book on trusting your gut from both a science and a spiritual perspective. Because I'm like, wait, I didn't know there was like science to back it up. So good. And yes, you're bringing me back to after we mapped out your goals for 2021, your 3 big goals for 2021, you then took that and created a visual image to help you focus on that and hold that as an intention. And, so good. So what was the most valuable thing you got from working with me?
The most valuable thing was confidence in a process, because like I said, we went through some painstaking stuff, and I now trust the process, and confidence in myself, confidence that, again, I'm a child of God and I have things to offer. And I go back to this so often too. Some things Althea said, and what our very first session, I think even it was our pre-relationship conversation. She said something to the effect of, you can't serve if you're not in schools. And that was a game changer. So this boldness of like, well, obviously I have to get in schools, because how else am I going to serve? Again, it flipped a switch, like, okay, I'll make the phone call, as uncomfortable as it makes me. I will make the phone call, because my job is to serve teachers. And to get into teachers, I have to get into the school, which means I have to create a relationship with a principal, which starts with a phone call. I'll do it. Challenge accepted.
I'm getting chills. So good. Really connecting with who God created and called you to be, and trusting that, and then saying, I'm going to do whatever it takes with integrity to fulfill my, my calling, and to be the servant leader God called me to be. So, as we're beginning to wrap up, how did your faith grow, and what did you discover about God through coaching with me?
I have been on a huge faith journey the last few years. Again, too much to tell, but it continues to grow because God shows up every single time. Every single time I'm obedient, which again, I think we have to be careful, because oftentimes we think obedience is going to be easy. I don't know where we learned that, but maybe that's a we somehow internalize that if you're obedient, it's easy. The reality that I've experienced, being obedient is crazy hard, crazy scary, and kind of ridiculous. I mean, he kind of puts you into places where you're like, I don't even really want to be here, right? So how my faith has grown is, instead of being afraid of those or uncomfortable, I'm now like, okay, God, what you got for me today? Let's go. Because he's shown up so big. I don't know how else to say it. So be brave, be courageous, be strong. I love those verses, strong and courageous, from Joshua. And then if you read in Joshua carefully, the second time he says it, I think it's the second time, he actually says, be strong and very courageous. So we have to be very courageous. That's different than courageous. So ladies and gentlemen, there's courageous and then there's very courageous. And God will show up. He shows up every single time. Bigger than we can even imagine. Better.
So good. And knowing, you know, I read in my devotional yesterday, Jesus Calling by Sarah Young, that to shift the perspective. So like, right. Like everyone needs that devotional. And she shared yesterday, and it's reminding me of, like, in this world, there'll be difficulties. And really, again, it's a shift of mindset. Why did we believe that obedience will feel easy? But in fact, it requires crazy faith, right? Crazy faith. Okay. Last question before we see a little bit of the Hope Bus and hear where those who are interested can reach you. What would you say to that Christ-centered female entrepreneur who senses they're there to work with me, but is on the fence or hesitant to make the next step to have a conversation?
Be in prayer, confirm, and then go for it. Again, trust that God has brought you to Althea and Althea to you. If it's a match, if it's meant to be, trust that, because he will work through both of you to bring big things for the kingdom here on earth, which right now we need more now than ever. I mean, maybe every generation says that, but I think, you know, we live in a broken world. We live in a very divided society. We have to be the light into the world. And working with Althea will allow you and provide you the opportunity, the tools, the support, the encouragement, and it is God-centered. So it's different than working with a secular coach. It's different than, like self-help books. When we have God in the center, he will guide you, and with Althea's help, to exactly what it is you need to be doing so that you can light up your little chunk of the world that you're serving.
What wonderful words of encouragement. Thank you so much, Dr. Brandolyn. So Dr. Brandolyn, where can people connect with you for those who are like, I need more of Dr. Brandolyn, and I may need to bring her into my school? Where's the best place?
So the best place is BrandolynT as in Tom.com. And yeah, that's probably the best spot.
Okay, perfect. Well, I teased the Hope Bus, and I know we're really close to the end. Tell us about the Hope Bus, and if you can give us a quick, 90-second tour of the Hope Bus, because people are wondering, what is this Hope Bus? And maybe where is Brandolyn right now having this interview?
So yes, this is my Hope Bus. It's a mini school bus that I have converted into a mobile meeting space. It's my mobile office and meeting space. There's the traditional school bus doors. So I have a meeting table, I have some captain chairs, and I have a little couch of pillows that we can rest on. And I take my Hope Bus, named it the Hope Bus, because the hope, I love this definition of hope. Hope is believing the future can be better and knowing you have the power to make it so.
Wow.
And so when I invite people into the Hope Bus, we believe the future can be better and we believe we have the power. And so I drive my little Hope Bus around and meet with people, and it's another aspect of gifts that God has given me. So not only did he give me a brain, he gave me a bus.
He gave you a brain, he gave you a bus. And one of the things that I remember about you, want to encourage others, is that your boldness to say, like, God gave me this idea for a bus, I'm going to have it. And the impact it had when you drove to a prospective client and they saw the Hope Bus. And now, as you're sharing to us, like, the meaning behind you identifying as the Hope Bus. So for those of you who God has given you a crazy faith, bold idea to how to show up in the world through your business, and you're like, I can't do that. Oh, yes, you can. And Brandolyn is living proof that you can do it. And guess what? It will attract your ideal clients to you. So Dr. Brandolyn, thank you so much for being a happy client guest on Althea TV. We are so blessed to have you.
Well, thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to share the story. And thank you for being who you are and sharing God's gift for us to learn from and grow. We're a united front, and I sure appreciate everything that we've accomplished to this date. And I can't wait to see what the future holds.
Neither can I. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and hit the notification bell for more videos. Then click the TV to watch the next video. Don't forget to visit my website at AltheaMcIntyre.com to get your free sales masterclass. Until next time, take care. God bless you.